Hi, today we are going to uncover the secrets of the humble magnetron. One of the applications for a magnetron is something you already know about, a microwave. So what is a magnetron? Well, the short answer is it's a radiation emitter. No, wait. Before you go running to the hills, just remember that the radiation emitted by this is 2.4 gigahertz, which is relatively low, so you're not at risk of developing cancer or anything. However, it is a kilowatt, which means it's very high powered, so it will burn you. But how does something produce a kilowatt of 2.4 gigahertz electromagnetic radiation? Let's find out. Alright, so here's what the inside of a microwave looks like. Here we see the magnetron, which emits waves into the main cavity. That's this part over here. Oh, and it's cooled by this fan. Whee! Down here we have a 2000 volt transformer and a 2000 volt capacitor. And it's because of these that you never work on a microwave while it's plugged in. I've pulled out this microwave transformer as an example, and you can see how the high voltage arcs across the air, superheating it into a plasma. So here's how a magnetron works in theory. We already know that it needs high voltage in order to operate. This is so that the electrons can jump off the cathode and move freely around the chamber. Every magnetron has two powerful permanent magnets inside of it. They're there to create a constant magnetic field pointing through the cavity of the magnetron. Now here's where the physics gets a little weird. We need to remember a thing called the right hand rule. You hold your fingers in this pose. Your middle finger points in the direction of the magnetic field. Your index finger points in the direction of the current, or the velocity of a single moving charge. And your thumb points in the direction of the force that charge will feel. Now that we've discussed the right hand rule, let's take a look back inside of a magnetron. As we kinda touched on earlier, we know that the electrons are emitted out radially from the center cathode, and there's also a magnetic field going right down the middle of the magnetron cavity. So how does this interact with the electrons? Well, using the right hand rule, if we know that an electron is heading straight out from the center, then the magnetic field is going into the plane of your computer screen, then we know that the force is going to be accelerating that particle this direction. And after a moment, the particle will have a new velocity like this, and so on and so on. Inevitably, what this electron is going to do is it's going to follow a spiral pattern going outward. What we've just described is what physics knows as a cyclotron, when you can get charged particles like electrons to cycle around in a spiral pattern. When these spiraling electrons finally make their way to the anode block, the outside wall of the magnetron cavity, they will induce a charge separation, a voltage across the anode resonating cavities. Those are the smaller circles on the periphery that we see. Why the electrons do this is a lengthy explanation and out of the scope of this video, so I'll leave some links in the description for your own study if you're interested. Now let's take a closer look at one of these resonating cavities. Well, we see that across this resonating cavity, the base of it, where the charge separation is, kinda looks like a capacitor. And that loop going around the circle kinda looks like an inductor with one turn. Well, let's model it as such and see what happens. This capacitor portion at the bottom creates a constant electric field across it thanks to the charge separation, and the one-turn inductor will create a magnetic field going in and out of the plane of that circle thanks to the rotating current around it. Essentially, it's a really weak electromagnet. So what we see is that the electric and magnetic fields are perpendicular to each other, and oh my gosh, it's electromagnetic radiation! As evident by the alternating electric and magnetic fields that are perpendicular to one another. We can solve for what the resonant frequency is by solving this equation. As we can see, both the inductance and the capacitance are in the denominator under the root, which means that the smaller they are, the higher frequency we're going to get. Since we know that we're talking about a magnetron from a microwave, we can expect this to be somewhere around 2.4 gigahertz. But wait a second, these waves aren't very powerful. In fact, they're incredibly weak. So how does a magnetron make them more powerful? Well, let's take a look back inside the magnetron at the electric fields created by this charge separation once more. The red lines you see here are the electric fields created inside the main cavity of a magnetron, and the arrowhead points in the direction that these fields are going. Now let's consider an electron as it interacts with these fields. Well, it looks like the electron is occasionally going against the electric field, which will cause it to slow down and use energy. This is called retarding the electron. And as this happens, that energy needs to go somewhere. It's absorbed into the RF, the radio frequency that's being created by the resonating cavities. And this is how a magnetron takes that teeny tiny power of an electromagnetic wave and makes it very powerful. There is a lot more we could say about this. In fact, we could be here all day. But if you're interested in learning more, I'll include some links and references in the description for your own study, if you are interested. But for now, I think you get the idea, so I'm gonna move on. In fact, let's take a look back at the magnetron I have sitting on the table and see what it looks like. Now this top piece here is the antenna for the magnetron. Now you may expect the waves to come straight out as if it was coming out of a gun, but that's not actually what it looks like. I'll animate this as best I can, but the output from the antenna looks something like this. These shapes that you see here are the primary lobes. This is where you can expect the greatest intensity, which means something directly in front of the magnetron would have almost no interaction with it. Alright, now that we know what to expect, I think now we're ready to cut this thing up like a Christmas ham and see what it's really made of. Okay, this is very important. You see this pink band here? This is a ceramic insulator that is oftentimes made out of beryllium oxide, which is extremely dangerous. If it's broken and you get particulates either in your mouth or in your lungs, you could potentially develop a condition called berylliosis, which will have both acute and chronic side effects that'll probably end up killing you. Oh, and it's also carcinogenic. In fact, magnetrons are full of bad news, so I can't stress enough to wear some proper protection while you work. Okay, it's a little while later and I've made some progress. So I've removed some of the outer case of the magnetron. Let's see what some of these parts are. Oh, well, this one that just fell off. This is just a brass reflector. It prevents waves from bouncing back into the magnetron. It's not really important. So here beneath the antenna and beneath the cover, we can take a look at one of these permanent magnets. There are two of them, once again to make a magnetic field going through the cavity of the magnetron, which you can see in there is the cylinder. This surrounding it are the heat sinks, because this magnetron, while it's in operation, gets very, very hot. In fact, if you look inside of a microwave oven, this is what the fan is pointing at across here. Now in the back, first of all, we can see more paint danger, so I'll cover that up right as soon as I can. And we also see these two coils here. Alright, let's see if I can get off one of these permanent magnets. So with everything else gone, I'm just left now with the resonant cavity of the magnetron. It's sort of unbelievable that beyond all the bells and whistles, a microwave oven can just be boiled down to this. I think I'll bisect it right across here so that I can get a cross-sectional view of this inside pattern. Alright, well we see that the inside is made out of copper, which is not what I was expecting. I thought it would be made out of steel, which would be a much tougher material. This actually wasn't too bad to cut through. Here, that center rod right there, that's the filament where the electrons are ejected from. That's superheated, by the way, so that the electrons can migrate away from it into the cavity. Now, I depicted it in the schematic as circles, but in this magnetron, these triangular regions, trapezoidal regions, these are the resonant cavities for the electrons. Now I know that they've been trying to make magnetrons a lot cheaper over the last decade or two. I never imagined they would simplify it down so much. The other one looks pretty much the same. Once again, we got that filament action going through there, and this leads up to the antenna. Well, there we have it. I think we have fully uncovered what is inside of a magnetron, truly. And this is just your typical magnetron, the kind of thing that you would find in your microwave at home. So I think we answered what we set out to do, and that was, once again, to find exactly what a magnetron does and how it works. Just remember to stay safe and have fun, and as always, thanks for watching.